Okay. Hello, good evening, or good morning or afternoon, depending on when you're listening to this. This is the 54th of hopefully many episodes of Bard Advice, a D&D/nerd podcast where I, Charles Chaz Yazik, the DM, the Bard, however you may know me, do my best to answer any questions, concerns, criticisms, complaints, queries that you may have. Now, at the top of the show, after welcoming everyone, hello, happy Friday, happy last Friday of 2023. Here we are at the end. I can't believe this year. It's just been a bit of a blur. At the top of the hour, as we always do, we like to remind everyone of our email here at the show at bardadvice@gmail.com. It also looks like bardadvice. Please send things that way, whether it's questions, whether it's stories from a campaign. If it's a follow-up on a question you've asked before, please let us know. bardadvice@gmail.com. If you would like to get merchandise, you can do so at manshorts.com. And if you would like to contribute to anything that I'm doing musically, you can do so directly via PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo, all of which are Yazik, Yahzick. Also, at the top, would like to give a big thanks and appreciation to all of our patrons, members, super chatters. Please remind everybody to like, comment, share, subscribe, turn on notifications so that you're aware when we make stuff, and rate the podcast on your respective platforms, please. Hello to everyone, all of the old regulars, River, Pirate, Chris, Rocco, Daryl. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. So, we've got a lot of questions this evening. Actually, we're going to try to get through 8 if we can. We're going to see how it goes. Hello, everyone. Hi, Ruby. Hi, Jay. Thanks for stopping by. So, we've got a couple of Chris questions, as is to be expected. So let's get into it. Well, actually, before we get into questions, we're going to do an art corner, which was not one that I was expecting to do until I saw it, but I'm going to show it for everybody because it's cool. So the art corner that we got is actually from a Chris, and the email that I got attached with this said, I, Chris, am building a storage space for my magic cards, and the build is going to be a life-sized mimic chest with dice roll gimmick to battle it for the treasure of my collection. Not a D&D player, but a lover of creatures and fantasy lore. Also, Alistair Peppercorn drank some eggnog and is passed out and will rejoin your party shortly. Thank you very much, Chris, for the submission. I think it's really cool. Please send us the finished product if that isn't already it. That's a cool thing. That's kind of a thing that I do wish that I did more of, is stuff with my hands, I guess. I've never really been good with the hands-on art stuff, like sculpting or wood. I feel like I'd cut myself. So, but thanks for sending that in, Chris. That's cool. And anybody out there, if you're listening, if you'd like to submit something for Art Corner, please send it to bardadvice@gmail.com. All art is welcome. So, let's get into it. Let's see if we can get through these questions, shall we? And then do a little bit of chat. So, the first question this evening, according to the list of names, is from Sarah. And Sarah asks, do you have any New Year's resolutions? Well, thank you for the question, Sarah. I don't actually usually do that. I think that I've done it before, obviously, in my life, but I don't know. I try not to give myself too hard of parameters or rules in terms of like setting a goal that I absolutely have to accomplish. Sometimes that can stress me out and make me go the opposite direction. So I don't have any kind of specific resolutions. If you do in the chat, please tell us. What I like to do, and what I was going to mention here, is something that it's a tradition of sorts that my mom and I started doing several years ago, which is that we assign ourselves and or each other a word of the year. So the way that it works is my mom puts together a list of words, and they're just like virtuous words, right? So it's like patience, or like wisdom, or it could even be like joy. And she numbers them all, and then I pick a random number, and then I'm kind of assigned a word. And so the exercise is kind of, I guess, to like embody whatever the word is. So funny enough, the year that I made Rap Edition and then subsequently Attack of Opportunity was my word was community that year. A couple of years ago, it was balance. This last year, it was imaginative. So I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, that's just that's the thing that I like to do instead of resolutions. So Mom, if you're there and listening, we got to get a list together. And then, hey, maybe we can get the bardads and bardadettes to participate in that. So that might be cool. But thank you for the question, Sarah. So I don't have a resolution, but I do have a word of the year. Let's see what we're saying in chat. Play more D&D live is my resolution. I told a coworker about Organized Lightning on Thursday. He told me he ended up listening to all 3 of your albums. Oh, wow, that's very great. Thank you. Well, I appreciate you spreading the word, and I'm glad to hear that they enjoyed it. Resolution is to try and take more care of yourself physically and mentally. That's a medical issue. You need to get serious about it. Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I could probably stand to take a little better care of myself as well, just in terms of, putting on your own oxygen mask. We'll talk about that later in the episode because we've got a question about that it's going to naturally come from. So, resolutions: professional, get a raise; personal, lose weight with your lose weight with your girlfriend; and player, get back to the game shop for D&D games. Yeah, play more D&D, I think, is just a good resolution for everybody here, just across the board. Play more games. And hey, maybe not maybe not official D&D, right? We'll talk about that too. Not sure if it's a resolution, but I have a ton of projects that have been on the back burner. You want to knock that list out? Well, get on it. All you got is time, and time's gonna pass anyway, so do the thing. Let's see. Not a resolution, but just being more consistent with my health. Just try to be more thankful each day. That's a good one, Ruby. That's a good one, to be thankful. I could probably stand for my word to be thankful. Hey, Mom, put thankful on the list. See if I pick it. Fellow nerds, please take care of your health. I had a Widowmaker, and you do not want to go through it. Make good food and exercise choices, please. Thank you for the recommendation. Yes, everybody take care of yourselves. I think that's a good way to step into 2024. Take care of yourselves, people. All right. So, thank you for the question, Sarah. Let's keep moving. We got more. This next question, according to the list of names, is from Nathan. And where are we? Nathan asks, there's a lot written and talked about on how to DM and what makes a good session, campaign, NPC, or even monster. But what are some things that players can do to make a session or campaign better beyond the common courtesy points like being on time, prepared, and engaged? What are the questions DMs wish their players asked more often? Well, thank you for the question, Nathan. What a great question. First of all, I'll applaud you on the question because I don't think we've ever had anything like it, and what an awesome thought. It's something that I'd never really considered. So I made some notes on it. Pirate says bring snacks. Yeah, bring snacks for the DM. That's good. Yeah. Bribery. That's always good. Put that on the list for sure. I said taking notes. Taking notes. Now that's, I'll tell you, taking notes, that's a way to get on the DM's good side. Keeping track of stuff, just in general, inventory, etc. Because the thing is like if I give you a thing and then I forget about it and you're not paying attention to remembering it, then we now we're in a situation, now we're in the retcon room. How did we get there? Because you weren't paying attention to your inventory and stuff. So I think that that's a big thing. If you keep track of your player, kind of ties in with the oxygen mask thing. Take care of your player. Know what's going on with your player. Backstory, developing strong backstories is something that players can do that is very helpful. Because strong backstories will help the DM understand your character's decision-making as well as your motivation. Another thing I said is to be supportive of other players, especially new ones or lesser experienced ones. Like, if you can kind of rein that in so that the DM doesn't really have to worry about that. Because the DM's world building. We're world building, baby. We don't have time to worry about, like, how does this person attack? You help them with that. And then as for questions to ask, I think, like, in-game, what do I see? I feel like that's such a basic thing that a lot of people just don't ask. I think a lot of times the party's kind of waiting on the DM to direct, and a lot of times the DM does direct. But a simple question like, what do I see? Can open up a whole new world. That gives the DM a runway to, like, doing a whole new encounter that y'all didn't, you know, that was all that was needed to trigger it, was just to say, what do I see? Let's see what people are saying in chat. Yes, DM's a lot of work. Was rating. Be ready when it's your turn. Oh, yes. Oh, man, be ready when it's your turn. I'm looking at you, spellcasters. I'm looking at you, wizards. Get spell cards. Pay attention to what's going on, especially when it's not your turn. Yes. Yes, especially when it's not your turn, which seems counterintuitive, but no, it's important that you know what other people are doing so that it can help guide what you're doing. I offer up my monster manuals to make it easier to get them stats. Don't come up with a level 1 turtle with an AC of 25 that with a shield can be a potential of an AC of 30. Whoa. I personally love when the players take care of the logistical side of things. Hey, you got a good next week at Tom. Show they're excited and takes weight off your shoulders. These are live. Yes, indeed they are. It's not hard when you only have one spell, magic missile. That's true. Or if you're a warlock, just Eldritch Blast. You don't need cards for that. Yeah? You know what you're doing. So yeah, I think that answers that. I think that there's enough in there. Defer to the DM choices or decisions, especially regarding rules. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, to just kind of like rule of tie going to DM. Obviously not 100% of the time. It's not to say that DMs are infallible. Sure, DMs make bad calls. But I think, you know, kind of the agreement that you go into when you go into these games is that it's like, okay, well, you're the one that's in charge of the world. I'm in charge of my player and to an extent my party, and you are in charge of the world. And so as such, you kind of do need to, that's kind of a good mindset, I think, to have just as a player in general, is that it's like 9 times out of 10, you're going to just be deferring to the DM. You're just going to have to deal. You'll explain the level 1 turtle in Discord. Please do. I'll tell you what, Pirate, we'll talk about it in the Discord, and then we can talk about it next week, because that is crazy. All fireball all the time. RP has elements of improv, baseline, responsive, yes, and. Oh, that's a really good point. Not just from an RP perspective in terms of like the story and the plot, but again, creating runways for the DM to take you on a pre-planned adventure that they're looking for you to trigger. So saying something like, is there any, you know, is there, like, if you're on like a main road or something, you're like, do I notice any like side roads or anything? Because it's just like, it's little breadcrumbs for the DM to be like, as a matter of fact, you see what you thought was a goblin just run down a side road. So we have too many experienced players in our group that like to argue over what characters can and can't do. Thus, the DM makes the final decision. Yeah. You kind of have to be a little bit of an iron fist on that when it comes to OP, murder hobo, Sarah types. And not Sarah who asked the question tonight, Sarah from Band Shorts. Okay. So that one's done, I think. So thank you for the question, Nathan. Hopefully you got something in there that is helpful. Moving right along via the list of names, the next up is a Chris. And I got to be honest, we got some Chris's, but we'll go into this question from Chris. And Chris asks, do you think the OGL debacle was preemptive to Hasbro laying off all those WotC employees to keep them from making their own systems in competition? Thank you for the question, Chris. I think that this was actually sent last week, but so I unfortunately wasn't able to get it on the last week's episode, but I did want to address it, so we're going to talk about it tonight. I don't know that the powers that be at Hasbro had the foresight or the planning to do something that far in advance. Yeah, that's what I said. That's what Bean says. What I will say about it is that I think that it seems that WotC's really doubled down on the greed. It seems pretty egregious for this to happen, for these layoffs to happen right before Christmas. I imagine that many of those employees at a minimum have NDAs that they've signed. They may have non-competes that they've signed. And I got to be honest, if I'm WotC in January when all of the OGL stuff was going down, anybody that's agreeing to stay on board is signing an NDA and a non-compete. And so if they have signed non-competes, typically it's not in perpetuity. I really shouldn't speak with such confidence about like contract law. I have no idea. In my experience and from what I've seen, usually it's like a couple of years. I worked at a company one time where I had to sign a non-compete clause, and it was like I couldn't do anything related to that field of business for like, I don't know, a year or two after the fact. I don't know that if I did an NDA, but they likely have a non-disclosed non-compete article already. Yeah, part of the employment contract. Yeah, that's tough. The only silver lining in that, I would say, is that I imagine that there's hopefully some sort of an expiration on that, and that they'll be able to, gosh, that's the thing I think that makes it the hardest. It's more than just these people losing their jobs. It's like if these people sign non-competes, they might not even be able to get jobs in that industry. They might not even be able to go to Pathfinder or Paizo, although that's where they should look. And they could, they should consider building their own thing. I think that I'm as a consumer, as somebody who's dropped probably thousands, right, at this point, lots of money into Wizards products. I'm really disappointed to see that it's just like, no, bro, this is just what it is. And it seemed, maybe because from what I understand, a lot of the people that got laid off at Wizards were people that were instrumental in the development and the relationship with Larian for the development of BG3. So that's really tough. I don't think that Hasbro planned it in the sense of like, this is what we're going to do. But I do think that they capitalized on the idea of like, hey, at beginning of the year, first quarter of the year, it's like, hey, the ship's on fire. And so it's like, okay, well, close ranks, get people to sign off on stuff that says that they're not going to leave us and go do other stuff, make it through the development of BG3. Maybe in that case they did, if they knew that they were still developing that, maybe it was a thing where it was like, look, wait until that's out, wait until we make our money on that. Because they still showed a loss, right? I mean, not a loss in the sense that they lost money, but I should say a lesser profit than they expected, which is like, still gobs of profit. But as a musical artist, do I perform live? I do not. Not really. Not that I'm against it, but I just not really regularly. Let's see. Even after NDA non-compete, they can be at risk for other companies. If they develop a game but it has similar to something Wizards makes, they could sue, claiming the employee saw it while working there. Yeah, that sucks. Hasbro seems to be scrambling from the failure of the movie. They barely covered costs to make it and were hundreds of millions down due to the high marketing costs. Yeah, and the real unfortunate thing about all that is that if they hadn't done that stupid shit with the OGL in the beginning of the year, if they hadn't fumbled, that whole debacle hadn't happened, they probably would have been fine. They probably would have made, as expected, if not more, the money they did on the movie. But I feel like so many people were pissed about the OGL thing. A lot of people just didn't go see it. And you can't really blame them. It's, don't throw rocks at the murder hobos. So, hopefully that answers your question, Chris. Thank you for submitting it. We've got some more to get through. And, well, we've already been on here for 20 minutes. I can't believe it. All right, so let's keep moving because we've got like, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more questions, and then maybe a little room for chat. We'll see. The next question is from Christian, which is kind of like Chris, very close. Christian asks, Hello once again. The campaign is going great, and everyone is having lots of fun. In our last session, I had to improvise an encounter. My paladin wanted to jump 20 feet and land on an enemy and deal fall damage, but not take fall damage. After the jump, this is such a DM question. After the jump, he wanted to act normal with an action and bonus action. What would be the best way to make this fun and fair for everyone? We are using 5e. Thanks. Thank you for the question, Christian, and forgive my chuckles. I'm not laughing at you. It's more just the scenario. This seems crazy off rip. So, like, listen, fall damage is a thing that's going to happen unless you have something that's going to negate it, like some special ability, or you've cast Featherfall or something. Fall damage is a thing. So you're going to have to account for that. In the sense of them landing on an enemy, maybe you do it in such a way where it's like, okay, so you're going to roll for fall damage, yes? And so I think you're going to roll for it to see, unless gravity, you're going to roll for it to see how much you take, right? If it's successful, you take half. And maybe I give you advantage if you're going to land on a person versus the ground, but I don't know. That seems like it's too generous. It seems like a big ask. So this is let me just read from my notes because this is a better put together thought. It seems like a big ask. For starters, if you're jumping 20 feet, there has to be at least a save for damage. They may be able to reduce it, but the idea that they would take no fall damage at all is kind of crazy. And as for actions after the fact, I may allow for them to also attack as part of a full round action, but I would probably have the attack be with disadvantage or something. You have to keep it balanced. So I try to find a hybrid of raw rules as written and the rule of cool. I think that there's a middle there of like a pocket where that's the best games, where it's like you're mechanically kind of on board, but not to the point where you're not able to do anything cool. You know, you have to have some rules and mechanics to what you're doing, because otherwise, what are we doing? Are we telling a story? We're playing a game. We're playing a game. There's some mechanics that have to be considered. Grapple, then jump off something and cast Featherfall while releasing grapple, or just multi-class into monk. If they take no damage, that means no force. If they don't have any force, how can they deal damage? Right. Yes. Rule of cool / cinematic action depends on how far they are falling. In the words of Ghostbusters, it's okay, the table broke its fall. Jump and then combat roll into a kneeling fighting stance. Depends on how high of an athletics check they roll. It will determine advantage or even disadvantage. Oh, that's a good point. Equal damage to lander and landee. How much damage are they willing to take? Give. Yeah, no doubt. And that was a thing with... So there was a game that we played years ago. And Rigsby, Kyle Rigsby, who plays Waylon on the show, he was like a... I think that the race that he was like a shadow person. I think in 3.5 you can be like a shadow. There's like a shadow people. Or maybe that was just the class that he took. It was like a shadow assassin or something. Anyway, he was very like roguey, doing crazy stuff like that. And we were in a maze once, and he got up onto the top of the maze on the walls and got into a fight with this guy, and he bull rushed him, charged this dude, jumped up. He had double kukris, and just came down on this dude and like fell like, I want to say the walls were like 60 feet. And then he rolled. See, with a rogue, you could just do a tumble check, right? I don't know what if that's changed like with 5e. How do you feel about playing rat folk but with gnome stats? I don't know. I don't know enough about rat folk. I mean, I think you can like interchange stats, you know. I mean, as long as the DM is cool with it, as long as you're not like breaking something. What's the difference between like if you get like a +2 or a +1 to something else if you're this particular race, I guess. What does Scapelli say? Take fall damage, but convert half of it to a damage bonus on your attack if it hits. Yo, that's cool. I like that. It's like a fall damage power attack situation. Roll a 5 on the athletics check. Oh, you're falling all right on top of him. Disadvantage the attack. Roll an 18, jump, flip, downward, slash, advantage. If playing as a wild shape druid, could you wild shape in the middle of a 20-foot fall? I don't see why not. Don't wild shape druids, aren't they able to wild shape as a bonus action? To negate the fall damage? Yeah. But then that totally gets rid of your whole plan to like do an action and a bonus action and stuff afterwards. I don't know. What was described to me, if it was described to me, and it also depends on the level, right? The mechanics matter in terms of like how many attacks they get and like what kind of abilities they have in terms of like allowing them for extra stuff. But I think just like on a base level, it's like there's a lot going on here. They're jumping 20 feet onto an enemy, and then they want to also just continue their turn as normal, like with an action and a bonus action. It seems to me like a full round action. So, at my age, all falls are a disadvantage. You would have to prep the action, then use your reaction to perform said held action. Unless you're a cassowary or an ostrich. Oh, wild shape to a bird, so no fall damage. True. Wild shape to a whale, increased damage to enemy. No doubt. And that's a thing, right? Where you could create like a... I think I've seen that somewhere, where somebody talked about like a... Because you'd essentially have like a whale cannon. If you had like a... If you catapulted a druid... if you catapulted a druid at like a castle, and then in midair... they wild shaped into a whale, then they would essentially just be like it'd be just like a giant missile going into the castle. Give advantage on stealth checks and advantage on perception involving smell. First edition is 5th. How much do you think it will change next year? A 5/5 or a full 6? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. And after everything that's going on, I don't know how interested I am. My brother-in-law told me that he's going to be starting a Pathfinder 2 campaign. That might be fun. That might be something to look into doing next year. It could be a cool thing. All right. Well, thank you for the question, Christian. I hope that gives you an answer. There's something in there. It's good to encourage creative players without overdoing the metagaming. Yeah, for sure. I tend to kind of have the mindset of like giving people a little slack, but just keeping in mind that like the more you give, the more that they're gonna ask for, the more that they're gonna push you. So it's kind of like a balance, a dance. The whale reminds me of Hitchhiker's Guide. Yeah. All right, moving on. Next question from a Chris. We're still in the world of Chris. We're still in the realm of Chris. Next one's from Chris. Chris asks, hello, Bard. Not sure if this would be fitting for the Christmas episode. Don't want to bring the mood down, so you may want to save it for another episode. I'm sure you saw the recent news about Joe Cat deciding to take an indefinite break from creating content. This makes the 3rd content creator I've seen step away due to death threats and/or online harassment. My question is, as a content creator, have you ever experienced any of these things? What is your advice or message to creators who may be dealing with this kind of thing online? Thanks for all you do, and I hope that you, your family, and the whole crew at Mann Shorts have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Well, thank you very much, Chris, for the kind words and for the question. I did see this, and I saw your question last week. I didn't want to talk about it last week. I wanted some time to kind of think on it and process it. I have, in the description of this video, linked a video that Will from D&D Shorts made about it, and I agree with a lot of his sentiment and appreciate a lot of what he had to say about it, so I recommend going to check that out. He's probably a lot more eloquent and well-spoken about it than I am. I don't know... I don't know Joe Cat personally, and I will say... I will first say a couple of major points, and then I will kind of go through what my notes are on it. So a couple of things. It's hard to put yourself out there. That's number one. The anonymity of the internet acts as an armor for jealous and insecure people to go to war on keyboards. And also, the other point I want to make is the currency with which artists operate is our sense of self. So we'll talk a little bit more about those things. And I wrote a couple of paragraphs about it. So I'll just go through it, and then feel free to sound off in chat as to what your opinions are about it. I've been making content online since 2008. Probably, you could probably argue that longer, but on a pretty consistent basis since then. And in that time, we're not even going to begin to try and quantify the number of hateful comments, threats of violence, emails with just walls of texts about what a terrible person I am. And to a certain extent, that stuff comes with the territory, but I want to elaborate on that. So I think that just across the board in general, everybody has a lot of trauma. And I think that a lot of people are running around and projecting that stuff onto other people. Any kind of advice that I would have to anybody that does that kind of stuff, as far as just like harassing people online, find a hobby, get something to do. I just, whenever the conversation comes up about someone like being hateful in terms of judgment against another person, I always am just like mostly so confused, because it's just like, I don't even have time. Like, if I wanted to just like terrorize someone for their career, where would I have the time? I'm too busy. I'm creating stuff. I'm trying to spend and enjoy my life with my wife and with my friends and with stuff that I make. So it's like, I don't even have time to worry about it. Sometimes people are doing it because it's jealousy. Sometimes people are doing it to get attention, which I've seen before. One time when I was making content, when I first started making content, probably back in like 8, 9, or 10, I got a really rude comment, and I responded to it. And I just was like, that's not very nice. And then the person responded to it and was like, hey man, I just wanted to see if you would reply. And it's like, this is not a healthy spend of your time, right? You need to be doing something. What are you doing? You got a job? You got a job? Yelling at people on the internet? Get something to do. Overall, I think that this kind of harassment to regular creators isn't okay. Now, obviously, this happens to like millionaires and stuff, but like, it's kind of different when you're talking about that stuff. Those people can afford security. They don't have to go on social media to market themselves, right? Like, but when it's just like a regular creator, like somebody like Joe Cat, I think is just trying to make an honest living doing something cool. And it's sad to see that it's gotten to the point where people are pushing other people offline. I've quit making content before. There was a period in 2010 where I was just like, I'm done. And I did eventually come back. I hope Joe Cat comes back. The idea that somebody would be bullied offline simply because of who they are or how they feel about something, it just feels and seems crazy. And it happens a lot. And I would also just like to say, because I don't talk about it a lot, just for the record and for posterity so that people are aware, I'm bisexual. And it doesn't come up much, mostly because I am a happily married man to my wife, and I'm in a committed monogamous relationship. And so I'm not seeking anything out. And so it doesn't really come up that often. But I would hate to think that people would completely write me off or not want to watch my content or say hateful things because of that. Because it doesn't have anything to do with them. It doesn't have anything to do with anybody. So, in my experience, you're always going to have haters. If you're making something, it's like I said at the top, and it's something that I made a note for because my wife said, It's hard to put yourself out there. In my experience, you're always going to have haters. So my message to Joe Cat or any other creators that are dealing with this would be to put your own mental health first. Put your own oxygen mask on first, right? I do think that you should keep making things, because I think that artists are the reason that we make so much progress in the first place, right? Just like with general acceptance, because that's what art is. The whole point is that it's conveying an emotion. And most of the time, that emotion is avant-garde or daring or challenging. That's the point. So, take a break, but don't let those kind of people win. Even if you have to create a whole new channel and start from zero, which I've done before, keep making stuff. Even if it's just for you and you don't share it, keep making it. So, that's what I have to say about that. I consume a wide variety of content on YouTube and TikTok without exception. The content creators have haters, noisy haters. It's weird how people threaten actual violence regarding pop culture fandom. Yeah, I'm just an infrastructure repair specialist, but you guys and girls are what I watch more than anything. Well, we appreciate it. And listen, nobody here, everybody that's here is not who this is for, right? Life is hard already at a base level. And so further things complicate that. External factors and other variables, considerations. And so I just think in general, you should just be focused on yourself and the people that you love. Don't worry about what somebody else is doing. It's 99 times out of 100, it has less than nothing to do with you. Sometimes content creators, even myself, my content on the Clock app, need to step away and reboot and recenter. It's true, yeah. Mental health is something that is hard. Joe Cat's crap guide to D&D got me into your YouTube shows like yours. Sad to see anyone will go after him like that. Twitch is pretty chill, but I'm going to be multi-streaming soon. Keep true to yourself. Make content because you like making content. Yeah. And that's a thing with, keep making it, like Rick Rubin said. Yeah, sorry, totally lost my train of thought. That's what Rick Rubin said. Are you making it for you, or are you making it for someone else? That's just, I think, a question that anybody should ask. So just remember, the haters are online are the same type that wouldn't say anything to your face. It's very true. That's true. Yeah. It's people are emboldened by being anonymous online. So don't let that stuff mess with who you are. So, all right. Well, thank you for the question, Chris. And man, a little heavy. So, but I feel good about that response. That's how I feel as an artist and just as a person. And I wish everybody out there the best. And you know, whatever it is you're doing, whatever it is, as long as you're not hurting anyone else, it's totally fine. Don't let anybody make you believe that who you are is like not good. So people need to not worry about things that don't matter. And almost nothing really matters. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, really, truly, what does? When you sit down, it's like love, joy. There's only a handful of things that matter at all. So, all right. Well, thank you for the question, Chris. Let's move on. Maybe we can talk about that more at another time. But this next question on the list of names is from Stacy. Yes? And Stacy asks, "Hi, Bard. Will DBN ever return? Thanks." Well, thank you for the question. So DBN, if anyone doesn't know, is Drunk Before Noon, which is a series that we had on our channel, although I don't think that any episodes aired this last year in 2023. The short answer is yes. I've got a bit of a list of things that I would like to accomplish in 24. Not the least of which are taking a break I want to take a break from the editions. You know, we've been making the editions weekly for like 3 years now, maybe more. And be nice to take a little break. Although, of course, I'm not going to like stop making stuff. It's not a break from making content, but just a break from the editions. I don't know what that's going to look like. We'll try our best to communicate that as well as we can. It might be, a couple of weeks in January or at some point in February. Sometime in the first quarter, we're probably going to take a couple of weeks off. Well, I'll still be posting stuff as supplemental content in the meantime, but just a little break from the editions, just kind of a mental reset. And I want to bring back Drunk Before Noon. So I've and I don't know if I've talked about it publicly before, probably, but I've kind of in my head been reimagining Drunk Before Noon as a FaceTime type conversation. Because not only from a production standpoint is that easier because Justin and I can just film our pieces on our phones, but I also think that it's more, I don't know, just kind of more relevant technologically, that they would be FaceTiming on the phone. I also think that would lend itself to some funny comedy stuff that we could explore that we haven't been if they're on the phones, as well as it just, I think, fitting more for things like YouTube Shorts or TikTok or even stuff like Instagram and Facebook Reels, because short content is kind of king right now. So maybe the DBNs when we come back will be more often and shorter. Right, so maybe they might be, a minute or 2 minutes instead of 3 or 4 minutes, and then we would do like 2 of them a week instead of 1 or something. I don't know. But the short answer is yes. Drunk Before Noon is going to return. I'm not entirely sure what it's going to look like, but something similar to what I just said, because it sounds good. Drunk Before Noon, Chaz emerges from a COVID bunker, a.k.a. kicked out of his friend's basement. Could lend itself to adding new cast members, maybe. Who knows? That's true. The song from the Hunger Games 2023, that song Bird sings when chosen for the games, talks about this as a what is important in life. Last Drunk Before Noon was episode 71 about a year ago? No, it can't be. We've done more than 71. Didn't we get into the 80s? Pretty sure we got into the 80s. But yes, we're going to make more stuff. And also, so there are other things I want to do in 2024. Taking a break, bringing back Drunk Before Noon. I want to start streaming because I keep talking about that and not doing it. I mean, I stream this every week, but you know what I mean. Character book, the character supplement book. I'm working on that. The Florida Man supplement book. Going to be working on that, hopefully, first quarter of next year. The dice are coming. I just got word from Kraken that they're in, so I don't know when they're actually going to be going on sale, but I'll let you know. It looks like we're getting close on approaching that. And I'm going to be making a Christmas album for next year, which, by the way, I've already written or rewritten 3 songs. So, and I'm in the process of rewriting a 4th. And good news on that, my pal Songaria, who you may know from my recent feature on Buckle Up, and who also featured on Arcane Consumption and Follow on my album Organized Lightning, which is now available to stream everywhere you listen to music. Song is such a great musician that I can just find karaoke versions of these songs, send them to him, and then he can recreate them so that we can do it as a parody. And oh boy, we're going to release that next year. There'll be a D&D Christmas album. So how about that? Still think a segment when dads meet in the bar would be, and give each other advice while drunk would be fun. That's true, yeah. Bardadvice, yeah. Just like I wonder if I could find like put it into like an AI video program. Bardadvice. Figure it out. Tell me what it looks like. All right. Well, thank you for the question, Stacy. The next question is from Carl. And Carl asks, American football question. Oh, man. I don't... Football's a tough subject. I don't follow NFL, but I sometimes see video about all the hype Taylor Swift has brought to the NFL with her relationship with Travis Kelce. From my point of view, it seems like their relationship has put a lot of spotlight on the NFL. I agree. What are your thoughts on this whole situation? For me, it feels like it steals away from the actual game. Well, I will say this, Carl. As an NFL fan, I think that if we're talking about things that take away from the game, we should probably be talking about referees before anything. I will say it is it is seemingly a bit of a circus, but I think that that's just the nature of these, two high-profile people. It's just when two high-profile people are together like that. And obviously, I think that she's put a spotlight on the NFL strictly in the sense of, I imagine more women than ever are watching NFL games on Sunday, at least Chiefs games, and kind of plugged into the lore. Look, I've always said I think that football and fantasy it's a Venn diagram. Well, like with D&D and sports, it's just you're looking at heroes and stuff. But yeah, I think that the NFL is just capitalizing on the moment, right? Because she's selling out their stadiums more effectively than the NFL does. So I think that it's good. It's kind of a win-win for everybody. Now, I don't know what the other side of that might look like. Obviously, wish the best for them. If they're happy, that's great. But it does seem to be, it's at least managed, right? But more like a relationship among the royal family or something would be managed, right? 6-man football, I haven't seen it. I feel like she's using the relationship to keep herself relevant. I doubt that. I mean, she's like a billionaire. She doesn't need relevancy. But I do wonder just about like what that relationship is, not between Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, but between Taylor Swift and the NFL. So no room for more marketing at an NFL game. It's a giant 4-hour commercial already. That's true. It is. It has gotten a bit excessive. Find it too boring compared to college ball. I was just talking to my buddy about how I grew up as more of a college fan, and then the Jags expanded. We got a team, and which, by the way, while we're talking about American football, we can just briefly talk about how we're going to be playing Carolina this weekend, and I'm really concerned that we're not going to win that game, just because that's a very Jaguars thing to do, to lose to the worst team in the league. So, Jags and Panthers this Sunday. We'll see how it goes. I think that everybody's just kind of making as much money as they can off the whole thing, including content creators, including people who are like using it as something to talk about, right? But is she going to do the halftime show at the Super Bowl? Maybe. I kind of resisted Taylor Swift for a long time, but I gotta admit, she makes some banger songs. There's, hits after hit. I like it. So, hey, what's going on, song? What's happening? Am I gonna gloss over the Jags Bucks? No, Pirate. Yes, I know. I was there. I wasn't there, but I saw. It was terrible. I don't want to talk about it. I didn't watch. I knew it was going to happen because it's a very Jaguars thing to happen, right? So, thank you very much for the donation, Jordan. $5 donation. Hello from the 904. Just wanted to wish you a happy holiday. Well, thank you very much. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't mention, I feel bad for not saying it earlier, Orderly Chaos. I saw that you signed up as a member, so we appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right, so we've got one more question, and then we'll do a little chat. Wow, we've already gotten through 7 questions, and we'll do this last one. And this is a fun one. This one came in late, but this kind of ties into what we already talked about before. So this one, thanks for the question, Carl. And this next question is from Chris, and Chris asks, we love seeing the bloopers. Would Man Shorts ever be open to filming a behind-the-scenes episode? Get an idea of how our favorite show is made? Thank you for the question, Chris, and I'm glad that it was asked so that we could talk about it. Justin and I have talked about this several times over the years, and I don't know why we haven't just done it. Maybe we can use the opportunity of taking a break from the D&D editions to do it, because I would like to show that off too. would like to let people know kind of what goes on to it. I can give you sort of a verbal breakdown of what the process is, but I do ultimately want to make a video that just kind of gives a breakdown on how it works. But usually I write the script the night before the shoot. That's usually how it goes. We mostly film on Fridays, like we filmed today. Usually I write the script Thursday night and send it out at 3 a.m. So usually they don't even see it until they get there. But I've talked before about how we've been doing it for so long. I feel like I've gotten a real rapport with, these people are my friends anyway. And I've known Rigsby since we were kids. But I've gotten better at being able to write for them, just in the sense of like knowing already how they're going to do it. So, and they also, I think, have probably become over the years so engrossed with the characters and so kind of aware of what the deal is that they can just go with it. Are the scripts strictly followed, or does everyone ad lib a lot? I wouldn't say that we ad lib a lot, but we definitely ad lib. And I've said before, like, some of the best stuff was just totally ad libbed, totally just thrown in. And now, of course, I'm not going to be able to think of any specific examples, but it might be fun to, like, I've considered also doing like a Man Shorts watches Man Shorts thing, where like me and Justin, or me and some of the cast, like maybe me and Melissa, could sit down and like watch a couple episodes and then just like give some commentary as to stuff that was going on with that episode. Because in addition to just being able to look over the pieces and find those moments of like, oh, that was unscripted, it's also kind of like a time capsule, like moments in time too. So that would be cool. Do I write in Rigsby's Yawns? No, I don't need to do that. Those things those are always, those always come on. Unorganized chaos, yeah. So I write the script the night before. Usually go over there. Rigsby usually shoots first in the morning, and then I come over and do my stuff. Then usually Jay goes, Lance, and then Melissa or Sarah does her pieces. And then Justin does the selects, which, if you don't know, in film, when you edit something, obviously you don't want to use everything you filmed because most of it is unusable. We were joking about that today with Justin. I was like, yo, it's so funny because like my raw footage is always like 20 to like 30 minutes. And it's for like 4 minutes of actual usable footage, because the rest of it is just like either takes that we decide that we're not going to use, or it's just nonsense that ultimately ends up in the gag reel. But that's all to say that selects are the pieces that you actually want to use. So for the show, it's the lines, it's the takes that you want to use. And so Justin every week does those. He does the selects. I do the gag reel, which is mostly like the bloopers, which is mostly just comprised of me just going through the footage and finding the funny moments and separating them, etc. And then, yeah, the editing process is probably, post takes way longer than actual filming, because, I get my stuff done in 45 minutes, and I'm the longest one. And then everybody else is usually 20 minutes or less. That's assuming we're doing one episode, right? Obviously, like back in the day when, season 6, we were shooting like 4 episodes at a time. But we were only shooting like once a month, but we were doing 4 episodes at once. So that's a totally different thing. We cast real-time reactions to things like airplanes flying over, or Kepler being Kepler is always fun to see in the videos. Yeah. It's been a journey, I'll say. It'd be fun to look back over it in a Man Shorts watches Man Shorts type thing. What were we talking about? Oh, so the post takes a long time, but it's mostly because I want to try and make everything as perfect as possible. So I typically will. As of late, in the last year or so, I've been using a lot of Midjourney to create the like title screens and thumbnails, which has been fun and interesting to use as a tool. Obviously, I don't think that we should rely entirely too much on AI, but I definitely think that it's going to provide a lot of tools for artists. By the way, the Florida Man never disappoints. Oh yeah, for sure, Florida Man. Call it Man. Confuse the algorithm. Show Kepler has aged over the years. Oh, that would be fun. Oh, yeah. That's a bit of a little inside baseball. It's like a spoiler alert for Sunday's episode. There's some footage of the puppy in there. Now, this puppy was a rescue that Melissa and Justin brought in, and they've since found a home for him. He's going to be going to that new home, I think tomorrow, actually. But there's footage of him in the in the show, and man, Kepler is just the funniest. He hasn't been. I don't think he's been handling it all that well. It's got to be tough not being top dog anymore. But let's see. The group never really all at the table all at the same time. Yeah, so we're very rarely. Now, back in the day, we used to, like, when we shot, like, those big days where we would do, it was a whole shoot day where we'd shoot, like, 4 episodes and then 4 episodes, or, like, 2 or 3 episodes of the We Play. Everybody's on set for that. And it's fun. It's kind of a party, but it's gotten really, I guess, formulaic over the years, and now we just kind of shoot all of our pieces individually. Not saying, just saying never prompt Santa. You guys need to do a bit involving druids and everyone brings their pets into their wild shape. Yeah, we've talked about that. And I guess we have done a cat and dog edition. But we've talked about one where we use actual animal stand-ins. But it would be tough. I don't know. Kepler's not too hard. He did circus pretty well, I guess. Are there any standout characters if you wanted to immortalize them? You would have made minis. Yeah, no doubt. Maybe not from the editions directly, but Studebaker Peppercorn for sure. I would love to have a Hero Forge version of. Show us the puppy just to steal him away. Well, I think that we get, I think that the couple that they gave it to are friends of theirs, so I'm sure that they'll stay in contact and we can give updates. Pets is wild shape. Yeah. Yeah, we've talked about that before where it's like, oh, we could just have like Kepler and some other dog. Another cat. Not chocolate milk. My cat, chocolate milk. Probably not. Oh, and by the way, I'd forgotten that I wanted to share this image, this picture, because I talked about it before, how I collect reindeer. And my wife this year, and well, she usually does this every year, but she made this really cool reindeer display. Now, that's not all of my reindeer, but that's a good chunk of them. And so that was cool. I just wanted to show that off because my wife's awesome. She always makes things very nice. So, a new campaign with spouses as well. What is the meaning of my MC handle? Oh, Yazik is so. Clockwork Orange was a film that was made by Stanley Kubrick, but it was first a book written by Anthony Burgess. And in the book, Anthony Burgess uses a language that's kind of a hybrid of his own. It's kind of a custom language, but it's a hybrid of like Russian slang and stuff. I've been told that in an actual language it means tongue, but certainly in NADSAT, which is the fictional language that is used by Anthony Burgess in A Clockwork Orange, Yazik means tongue. So that's what that is. All right, and we are officially in chat, it looks like. Thank you also for the question, Chris. Hopefully there's an answer in there. Yeah, we're gonna make one of those. So I don't know when, but keep your eyes open. So we're in chat. What are we talking about? Still waiting on the Mr. Rogers journey into Storyland with puppets and Chaz in a cardigan. It would be fun to do a Mr. Rogers episode. My sister and I used to have a stuffed animal reindeer I liked as a kid. Yeah, reindeer are cool. Have we considered doing a collab with Viva La Dirt League? I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think the Viva La Dirt League is a little out of our scale. Out of our scope. It's like, asking if I'd partner with Critical Role. It's like, yeah, but I mean, I doubt that opportunity would ever present itself. I would certainly be open to the idea. I will say that I am friendly with Will from D&D Shorts, as I mentioned at the top of the episode, and will reiterate to go check out his video on the whole Joe Cat situation, because I think that he handled it a lot better than me probably. But I'd like to do some stuff with him. We're gonna probably be collabing on some stuff. Have I thought about joining Cameo? I don't know. It feels a little eh. Only because like I feel like I'm pretty approachable. Like usually if people reach out to me, I'll, if somebody says, "Hey, what's up?" I'll usually say, "Hey, what's up?" Which is usually what people want. But I don't know, maybe I'm not opposed to the idea of joining Cameo. Deerstalker Pictures, yeah. Good thing for the week. Oh, yeah, let's do good things for the week. If you don't know anybody that's in chat, we do good things of the week where we talk about good things. And hey, while we're at it, let's do good things of the year, because this is the last episode of the 2023. Also, everybody realizes that the last day of the year is 123, right? It's weird. Clockwork Orange is a good movie. Yeah, I think it's great. It's one of my faves. Viva are pretty classic. Pretty sure they're Kiwi. Yeah, definitely on a different time zone. But I mean, I think Will is on that time zone as well. Good thing for the week, your youngest turned 14. Wow. Man, the time just keeps going, huh? Got to play D&D tonight with your son and nephew. Fun. Making gumbo for New Year's. Oh yeah, what's everybody's New Year's plans? I'm not doing anything. Staying home with my wife. That's what I'm doing. Yes, be safe, as Rocco points out. If you're going out there to party and have a good time, party time, and be safe. Good things of the year. First child was born. Oh, congratulations. Got a new job that has great benefits and actually cares about you. Awesome. That's great. It's a rare find these days. My good thing of the year is your D&D game survived a major incident with a problem player. Started a new job at the beginning of the year. Graduated master's degree. Good job. Good things for the year. Adopting another cat. Going bowling. Oh, that's fun. Oh, man, I haven't been bowling in a long time. Deep cleaning the apartment. Got a good thing. Christmas was good, but 3-day power outage wasn't great. Got the Transformer. G.I. Joe Soundwave crossover. What? Oh, man, I got some rad stuff for Christmas, too. Actually, I was looking at this earlier. This is another awesome gift from my sister-in-law who gets great stuff. I got this big box of these TSR AD&D cards, 1993 series. A bunch of them. So those are pretty cool. If anybody knows anything about those, by the way, reach out. Let me know what's going on, because I don't want to mess them up or do something I'm not supposed to. Good thing of the year, befriended a raccoon. Whoa, that's awesome. Avoiding Times Square, yeah, probably. Play games, have snacks, do nothing else. Best New Year's ever. Good thing for the year, still alive. Wow. Here's to that, yeah. Any of us that woke up today, we're in a good spot. Gonna stay in and watch movies with a friend. Made brie. Oh, that's cool. Snacky bits. Yeah, that seems to be the consensus I hear from a lot of people. And that's cool. Just stay in. Just chill. Good thing of the year was offered a demotion at work at a new position is awesome. Less stress and weekends off to hang out with your son. Nice. Plan for the year. Paint more minis. Play more games. Learn how to do the computer better for streams. Yeah. It's a process. It's you gotta, it's like I said, what did I say earlier? I've been making content since 2008. Oh my God. It's 15 years. 15 years ago, actually, this time of year, because that's when I started, I think, my first YouTube. I want to say it was like November, like late November, or maybe even early December of. I think I actually started it earlier than that. I think that I started it earlier than that, but then it kind of popped off because of the whole Phil DeFranco iPod contest thing, which I still don't have my iPod Nano, Phil DeFranco, so feel free to send that whenever. Just sitting at home and watching a movie with the family, listening to the fireworks outside. Get to play with the neighbor's puppy. Oh, yes, and Pirate has linked the Discord, so please go check that out if you haven't already. Pop in there. We usually just hang out there and chat. a little bit after the show and just throughout the week here and there. We've got some cool art stuff in there and memes and fun, so come join us. Thinking of bringing Dark Sun back. Cobble material together. And or Ravenloft. Got no plans for the new year. Anything would be pleasantly surprised. Actually got to buy fireworks this year, so we stay home blowing stuff up and grubbing down. Oh man, yeah, there's fireworks all over the place for sale around where I live. All right, well, we're going to get out of here, gang, because we're at time. And as usual, this has gone by fast. I really appreciate everybody for coming and watching and listening. This year has been fun doing this. We want to keep the show going. We'll be back. I'm not going to be one of those see you next year guys. Although I guess that I think I'd do that at the end of this episode on Sunday, but whatever, deal with it. All right, so before we get out of here, I'd like to remind everybody again once more of the email, bardadvice@gmail.com. It also looks like bardadvice. If you want to get some merchandise, you can do so over at manshorts.com. And if you'd like to contribute to anything that I'm doing musically, you can do so via directly PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo, all of which are Yazik, Y-A-H-Z-I-C-K. We will be back next week, same Bard time, same Bard channel, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Man Shorts YouTube channel. The audio for this podcast, as it always is, will be made available tomorrow at 12 p.m. noon Eastern. Please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, rate the podcast, turn on notifications so you know when we're making stuff. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out, and I hope you have a wonderful new year, and we will see you next time.